It's the 20th of August, and this is your News Bite brought to you by eNCA.com. I'm Marcel Gordon, and in your news today, Stuart Scharnick arrested at the Madlanga Commission. Prince Harry and Meghan decide there's no place like England, and a trophy of Two-Halves unveiled for the greatest rivalry tour. Embattled Member of Parliament Fadil Adams continued his testimony at the Madlanga Commission today, where he continued to face questions about how he obtained classified crime intelligence information. But it was action during a break in proceedings that captured the attention today. Stuart Scharnick was arrested for allegedly intimidating a journalist. Scharnick is a known associate of Adams and Shadrach Sibia. Scharnick seemed to take exception to journalists filming him while he was in conversation with Adams. A journalist from the Sowetan has now opened a case of intimidation against him. Commission spokesperson Jeremy Michael says any such incident is unacceptable to the Commission.
That the media plays a very important role in conveying the proceedings of this commission to the South African public and indeed many other parts of the world. And so the role that the media plays and that journalists play is critically important, not only for the commission, but for the public to see, to understand. And we know that journalists have played a really important role in helping the public to understand the proceedings of the Commission, which can be quite complex most of the time. So whilst there is a live stream feed provided by the Commission free of charge through many platforms, including the Commission's own YouTube channel, in addition to that, journalists who are in attendance here every day play a critically important role in unpacking for the public and conveying particular messages on behalf of the Commission outside of the proceedings, as we are doing now. So we expect that journalists will be respected in executing their duties. The media has a constitutional right to do so, and so certainly that sort of conduct towards journalists in particular now is not acceptable.
Please note the following story contains graphic details. 76 counts of murder, 12 counts of attempted murder, and a charge of arson. That's what's facing accused Mbiso Mdlalozi, who is standing trial for the Usindiso building fire. The court this week heard of the harrowing scenes which played itself out when firefighters arrived at the site of the deadly blaze in August of 2023. After the state closed its case on Monday, the court raised concerns about discrepancies in post-mortem reports and the identities of some of the deceased. The state then applied to reopen its case and called additional witnesses. Here's firefighter Chico Nyati.
An adult male inside the building. That was the first one that we recovered inside the building. Remember, there were other bodies that were jumping, and then others were being thrown. The kids were being thrown to the floor by parents or friends. But the burned one, that's the one that was recovered around that tuck shop, behind the tuck shop.
The trial will resume on Monday. The Reserve Bank may have kept interest rates unchanged last month, but experts are warning that we're not out of the woods just yet. Inflation had reached a 2-year high in June, due mostly to higher fuel costs linked to the war in the Middle East. Earlier this year, the bank raised interest rates as a preemptive move to deal with war inflation, but have kept it steady since then. Here's RMB chief economist Madlanga on what could lie ahead.
To inflation, actually increase in oil prices, raising petrol prices in the next month mean overall inflation is going to be much higher than where the Reserve Bank is targeting at 3%. If you just look at this print, is 4.3, yes, slightly lower, but the next couple of prints are likely to reverse back to higher than 5%, which means relative to the 3% target, and if the Reserve Bank is serious about the 3% inflation target, they have to adjust. And what's more important is the inflation expectations. The last print of inflation expectations were at 4.4%. We would expect these inflation expectations to deteriorate in September. And by then, the SARB would have these figures. So we are not out of the woods. It's a welcome reprieve, but forward-looking, inflation is still much higher than where the Reserve Bank needs inflation to be.
A former engineering director at Meta has claimed that while he worked there, child safety was not as important to the company as much as user engagement. The parent company of Instagram and Facebook is on trial in California over allegations that it designed its platforms to get users addicted, that it misled the public about their safety, and that it collected data from children without parental consent. The verdict in this trial could have massive implications, both financially for Meta and for the way the apps are used, with states pushing for changes, including bringing an end to Instagram stories, autoplay content, and the removal of image filters that change someone's appearance. eNCA's Mitch McCann reports from the United States.
Arturo Bejar is a former Meta employee turned whistleblower who on Wednesday described the influence Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg had on the company while he worked there from 2009 to 2015 before working as an independent contractor from 2019 to 2021. He said Zuckerberg was closely involved in making policy decisions, saying if Mark makes something a priority, mountains move in months. Mr. Bejar believes Meta didn't make child safety a priority. Bejar also responded to comments that Zuckerberg made in the early 2020s where he claimed that Meta constantly used research to improve its products. In court on Wednesday, Bejar said it's so false, every part of it, adding you cannot trust Mark Zuckerberg with kids. 29 states are suing Meta, claiming that its business was to hook users, hold them for as long as it can, harvest their data, and hide the truth from the public when making public statements. Following opening statements earlier this week, California's Attorney General said Meta knew the implications its products could have.
Meta knows that Instagram is harmful to a significant percentage of teenagers, especially teen girls. Meta knows that.
Meta has pushed back on the claims, saying that it's a business that cares about young people and that it has actively worked to reduce the harm caused by social media. Meta's lawyer said in the last 3 months the company had removed 600,000 accounts created by people under the age of 13. Mark Zuckerberg is expected to appear during the federal trial.
Prince Harry and his wife Meghan have sent social media into overdrive with the news that they've decided to move back to England. 6 years after stepping down as working royals came the statement reported in British media that they now plan to leave the United States and will settle in a private, non-royal residence, which is said to be located outside of London. Their 2 kids, Archie and Lilibet, are reportedly even enrolled to start school when the school year starts in early September. eNCA's Ollie Barrett is outside the palace and tells us more about how this news has been received.
Harry and Meghan have surprised everyone with the news that they are moving back to the UK, and by everyone, I include King Charles himself. We're told that he was only told on Sunday and not in a meeting when Harry and the King met up last month. The family, we understand, will make the move to the UK later this month, ahead of the British school term starting in September, and Archie and Lilibet, who are aged 7 and 5, will attend a British school from that point. That is thought to be a key factor in this move being made. We understand it'll be for an extended period at least, with Harry wanting to spend more time in this country, potentially wanting to spend more time with King Charles as well after that meeting we saw last month. Questions around their security. Will the British taxpayer be involved in funding any police security support for the family? That has been a huge bone of contention between Harry and the British establishment since he's been making visits back to the UK while living in the United States. Critics of Harry and Meghan will say their American adventure has failed. We are being led to believe by people close to them that they haven't enjoyed living under the Trump administration in the United States, and Harry and Meghan's supporters will say that they will hope the British royal family and the British media will treat them rather better when they're in the UK this time around than was the case before they left for the United States of America.
In other news we're keeping an eye on, Former Knysna mayor and ANC councillor Ndoda Aubrey Nchengwa has been shot dead. The 48-year-old was shot multiple times on Wednesday night while reportedly on his way home. Nchengwa was travelling with 3 other people when an unknown assailant opened fire on the vehicle before fleeing on foot. Nchengwa was declared dead at the scene. And the MPA says they're ready to proceed with the suspended officer Sergeant Fannie Nkosi's case after he appeared briefly at the Pretoria North Magistrates Court. Nkosi faces charges of fraud, theft, and defeating the ends of justice. This after firearms, ammunition, a hand grenade, cash, and police dockets were seized during a raid at his home. Nkosi's been linked to an alleged criminal kingpin associated with the so-called Big Five cartel. He'll return to court on the 15th of September. Onto the world of sports now, and in a design decision that parents to toddlers would find highly relatable, rugby's greatest rivalry has unveiled a world first with a trophy created in 2 halves, yet drawn together by a magnet to capture the unique bond between the Springboks and the All Blacks. The winners of the 4-test tour will receive both halves following the final test in Baltimore in the USA in September. But should the series be drawn, each nation will retain one half of the trophy, a trophy that can literally be shared. The first test hits Ellis Park on Saturday. Here's SA Rugby President Mark Alexander and former Bok captain Gary Teichmann.
The backgrounds, we have similar backgrounds with the African rugby and our past, our divided past. But you know, the culture between us is unbelievable. You will watch on Saturday after the game. Watch with the players. You know, one thing, we beat each other to a pulp on the field. But when the final whistle's blown, we come together as colleagues. And that's a special part of rugby. Rugby is a unique thing. It's the only sport in the world where we beat each other to a pulp. And when the final whistle blows, we share a cool drink or a drink together. We do the same in the boardroom.
I try to forget 96, but you know, it just was such a epic series. I know what these guys are going through. I think it's brilliant for the game. I think of all the young players that are playing for the Springboks and the All Blacks, it's such an experience, and I'm glad that it's come back into sort of professional rugby.
An Achilles tendon injury to fullback Khuliso Mudau's cast a dark cloud over Sundowns' 2-0 premiership victory over Marumo Gallants. Downs' coach confirmed that it was a serious injury and a big loss not only to the Brazilians but also to South Africa. Mudau was of course part of the Bafana team that made history at the World Cup recently. South Africa began their 2027 AFCON qualifying campaign in September by hosting Guinea and visiting Eritrea. And 4-time Formula One world champion Max Verstappen has signed a new contract with Red Bull until the end of 2030. The team made the announcement on Thursday, ending speculation over his future in the sport. And that's how we wrap today's News Bite. For developments in these and more, keep an eye on eNCA.com and DSTV channel 403.